With the continued success of Genshin Impact and the recent success of Honkai Star Rail, video game development company Hoyoverse is doing pretty well right now. Let's be for real, bruh. When you think of gacha games, you think of Hoyoverse, but what you might not think of is the gacha game that put them on the map in the first place. Hoyoverse got started as a company called miHoYo, with its tagline being Tech Otaku Save the World. miHoYo started off as a couple Chinese developers in college working on flash games and the like together. These flash games would end up being the groundwork for concepts that would be featured in Honkai Impact, the game that this video is about. The first real game miHoYo produced was Zombie Girl Kawaii, a 2D side-scroller game in which you play as schoolgirls with guns killing a bunch of zombies. It's kind of crazy to think that in just a couple of years, the guys at miHoYo would go from making this to making Genshin Impact. But all of this is just backstory. Eventually, in October of 2016, miHoYo's most popular and ambitious game yet, Honkai Impact 3rd would be released, with the name referencing miHoYo's other two games, Honkai Gaiken 1 and 2, known in English as Zombie Girl Kawaii and Gun Girl Z, with Honkai Impact being a direct sequel to Gun Girl Z. And I guess that's enough backstory. Stick around if you want to learn about Hoyoverse's most slept-on game, and while you're at it, you might as well subscribe. 567 days. It's been 567 days since I last played Honkai Impact. 567 days ago, I was 15 playing Honkai Impact on my iPhone 6s on the lowest possible settings. Well, it's been around 3 years since then, and in that time a lot of things has happened. One of them being me creating this YouTube channel, and the second one is this game changing. Like a lot. And I'm not even talking about the game now being 25 gigabytes, bro. I remember when this shit was barely 10. Inflation is crazy. So yeah, for the remainder of this video, I guess I'll talk about what's been added, what's been lost, and how I feel about the current state of the game. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, first things first, Honkai is a character action game. It's not turn-based like Star Rail, and it's not an open-world game with a focus on exploration like Genshin, even though Hoyoverse has added open-world game modes and aspects in recent years. The main thing that makes this game so good, and why people play it in my opinion, is its combat. Like, you guys gotta remember, bruh, this was originally a mobile game, and at the time, there was no other anime mobile games with combat like this. And as time has passed, the combat in this game has just improved with the addition of new characters and gameplay mechanics. Oh yeah, and in case you guys didn't know, Honkai Impact is a gacha game. And yeah, I know that kind of fucking sucks, but believe it or not, the gacha aspects of Honkai Impact aren't as pervasive as they are in other gacha games. I haven't spent a single dollar on this game, yet I feel like I've been able to stack up a respectable collection of characters. And if I'm being honest, I feel like most of my characters, or at least the ones that I use the most, I didn't get from gacha pulls. Whether it be the story mode, the many events they've run over the years, the many other game modes they have, or the supply shop where you can spend non-viable currency, there is a fuck ton of ways to get characters and weapons if you have enough time. And this isn't like Genshin Impact where you have to fucking slave away for hours just so you can get enough primo gems for one measly 10 pull. In Honkai you can just get these characters for grinding out a lot of these events and game modes, which I'll be talking about later on in the video. Going back to the combat, it's hard to discuss it and speak about it as a whole because of how many different game modes Honkai has and how the combat and gameplay differentiates between the modes. So I don't know, I guess I'll just speak about each game mode's combat when I come to it. And I'm gonna come to it right now. Yeah, that sounds weird. If I'm being brutally honest, Honkai Impact's story mode may be the weakest part of this game, for multiple reasons, but it also isn't bad. The problem with Honkai Impact's story mode and its gameplay is how it aged. The combat, along with the stages in general, suffer from a problem that a lot of mobile games suffer from, being that it's just extremely simple and very handholdy. But truth be told, I feel like this isn't that big of a problem. If you're new to the game, it'll probably be annoying for you to be forced to do certain things in a menu and shit and to be given extremely short and easy levels, but this is something that gets resolved as you continue playing. And once again, truth be told, as you continue, the game gets very fun. You get a couple of characters as you play through the story and shit, but given the current events that are going on, it shouldn't be that hard to get better and more recent characters, which helps make the combat way more enjoyable. The levels become longer and more complex, the enemies become more challenging and require more effort to defeat. Like, this shit gets really fun. There's a good period of like 6 or 7 chapters where I genuinely just enjoyed playing the story mode, but eventually I stopped enjoying it and just stopped playing it as a whole. Around chapter 6 and 7 onwards, they stopped letting you use your own characters. And this is fucking shit. Like to be fair, this was always in the game. There was always certain stages where they gave you a specific character to use, but now it was just every stage. Like, there are no stages where you can use your own characters. And the main reason for this is the story, because as the story takes a more important role in the game, you play as the characters that are more involved in the story. And like, to be honest, this isn't even that bad. Like, the concept of using characters they give you, that's completely fine. But the problem is when the characters they give us are just shit. Like chapter 14, bro, I'm sorry, but I don't want to use this bitch Bronya, bro. Like, I'm not trying to play with her shitty fucking charge up ray beams. Unless it's the version with the motorcycle or the fist, then I don't want to use this girl, bruh. But yeah, while the story mode can be very fun and enjoyable, it can also be equally shit and feels like a trek to go through. But as for the story, like the actual story, it's pretty good in my opinion. If you're gonna play this game, pay attention to the story as you're playing. don't just skip all the cutscenes because trust me, it fucking sucks after replay through this game again. To reiterate, the story mode can be fun, but I'm not trying to replay it for like 3 years later, bro. I'm good on that. But yeah, all in all, story mode is just a mixed bag gameplay wise. But I feel like the story mode part of the story mode kind of makes up for it. But to be honest, I would just say play it when you want and don't force yourself to play the story mode, because there's more than enough shit in this game to keep you busy. Apart from the original story mode, there's an additional story mode that has recently been added to Honkai Impact, called Honkai Impact Part 2. What a fire title. Honkai Impact has been around for a while, almost 10 years at this point, and throughout those years there's been a lot of content added to this game, especially story related content. So much content has been added that some newcomers may be scared off by it. So miHoYo's solution is a new story mode which is completely unrelated to the old story. Well, it's not completely unrelated, but it's unrelated enough for it to make sense for newcomers. Part 2 is very different and very interesting, but like in a good way. It's open world featuring vast landscapes and areas, side quests, collectibles, all the shit you can expect to find in a game like Genshin Impact. But unlike Genshin Impact, the combat is actually good. Fuck Genshin Impact. Part 2 features these 3 characters, and as of now they're the only playable characters in it, but I feel like that may change in the future. The combat in Part 2 is fun as fuck, with them adding in-air combat and a bunch of other gameplay mechanics that in my opinion make the combat way more enjoyable. If you're new to the game, or even if you're not new, maybe you're a returning player, regardless, I feel like you should play Part 2. It's fun, it's new, and the story isn't half bad. Apart from the main 2 story modes, there's a variety of other game modes to keep you busy, but the ones that I play the most would probably be the open world modes, more specifically a post-Honkai Odyssey. These open world modes are kind of I guess. I haven't played Sakura Samsara in like 2 years, and Shixal HQ is just kind of boring, but a post-Honkai Odyssey Part 1 and Part 2, however, now that's a completely different story. Post-Honkai Odyssey is an open world game mode that takes place after the main story, or some shit like that. To be honest, I don't really care. All I care about is this game's combat. Post-Honkai Odyssey was crazy when it came out for 2 reasons. The first was that it added a jump button, and the second that it added a man. Yo, that shit was revolutionary, bruh. All jokes aside, this was the first game mode to feature in-air combat and shit like launchers and ground attacks. This game mode's combat is really fun. Back in the day, I used to call it Devil May Cry for weebs, and I still stand by that statement. This and Part 2 is what I spend the majority of my time doing when I'm playing. The other game modes in Honkai are a lot less time consuming, but still fun. You got Memorial Arena, which is like a boss rush mode. You got Q Manifold, which is like your survival mode. And you got Elysian Realm, which is like a floor-based mode where you beat enemies and get upgrades and shit. If I'm being honest, there's just way too many game modes for me to talk about in detail, and that's not even including all the events that Honkai has going on at any given time. I really do feel like Honkai Impact... No way I wrote down Honkai Impact. I really do feel like Honkai Impact is a good game. Like, not even by gacha game standards, I feel like just from a story and gameplay perspective, Honkai is very enjoyable. One thing I will say though is that at times, the combat can feel a bit repetitive. But here's my thing though. I don't recommend that people play Honkai Impact as their main game. I personally play it on my phone in my free time, but I don't put countless hours into it back to back. I log in, I do my dailies, do some other shit, maybe grind for a 10 pull if I have enough diamonds, then I log off. In the past month, I don't think I've played this game for like longer than half an hour in one sitting. Alright, that's a lie, but like longer than an hour and a half. Once again, if you want to do that, then you can do you, but I just feel like the gameplay doesn't have enough depth for me to consistently put hours into the game. Like, quick side rant, but here's the thing you gotta understand. At the end of the day, it is still a mobile game. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not really anymore, but that's what it started off as, and there's only so much you can do to make it better. And miHoYo or Hoyoverse did do a lot of those things, but the base... here's a great analysis comparison. No matter how much time and money you put into making a building strong and stable, it doesn't matter as long as the base of it is fragile. Yo, let's end this fucking video, dog. There's still a bunch of features and shit that I haven't mentioned, but I'll leave that for you guys to find out. If you think that the game looks cool, then try it out. It's literally free and you can get it on your phone. If you think this game looks like shit, then, you know, fair enough, bro. I don't really care. Like, it's not like it's one of my favorite games all the time, but I do like it. It's the only mobile game I really play, to be honest. But, hey, you do you, bro. That's the end of the video, by the way. I don't know if this video is good. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like this video is either gonna blow up and get like 1 million views or get like 7 views, and no in between. But, yeah, lately I've been playing a lot of Borderlands 2. No, actually, no, I haven't. I've been playing hella Dark Souls, like 30 hours deep into it. Deacons of the Cathedral, just killed them. You know what I'm saying? I'm going for the guts build. Got my great sword, strength, endurance, vitality, you know, leveling that up, you know what I'm saying? Also, obviously Strive as well, since they just added ABBA. I'm like level 30 floor with her. I don't even know. Like, I feel like, I don't know. Obviously, I main Sin, and Sin did me so good, took me to level 8. But I feel like if I really get used to Abba and understand her well, as much as I do Sin, I feel like she'll bring me to floor 9. That's just how I feel. But, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, as always, this has been your boy, Jugo Young. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.